Okay, anytime ready.
All right, good evening, everybody. For those of you who I have not met yet, my name is Chris Worthy. I'm the chair of the Economic Development Committee. Officially, this is a meeting of the Economic Development Committee. We have an agenda out for this presentation. And so, first order of business is to call the meeting to order for November 19th, 2014. So, first of all, we'd like to thank Emmy Hahn, the Emmy Hahn program. Let me start over. We'd like to thank the Emmy Hahn program coordinator for the Department of Housing and Community Development's Massachusetts Downtown Initiative for making this research possible. The Massachusetts Downtown Initiative, or MDI, offers a range of services and assistance to communities seeking help on how to revitalize their downtowns. MDI's guidance principles are that the most effective approach to downtown revitalization is a holistic one, that it addresses economic and community development needs, and that it provides a framework of interrelated activities that promote positive change in a downtown to keep it healthy and prosperous. The MDI awarded Maynard's grant in 2013. The project was taken this August through November to explore the potential for downtown Maynard to grow as a food, culture, and entertainment destination. The goal of the project was to gain information that will help lay a foundation that will help guide future planning and decision making. Barringer of FinePoint Associates was selected to conduct the research for the grant. Ms. Barringer is a founder and partner at FinePoint Associates, where she directs economic development consulting. For more than 25 years, she has consulted on downtown and neighborhood business district revitalization, microenterprise and small business development, commercial real estate projects, creative economy initiatives, and a large array of customized research projects. She has worked in more than 200 communities throughout the United States, providing economic and financial analysis, market research, impact studies, strategic planning, training, and other services. Ms. Barringer has also been teaching economic development courses at Tufts University in the Graduate Department of Urban Policy and Planning since 1991. Before she starts, we're going to have, if you have any questions, please hold it till the end, then we can address any questions anybody has at that time. So, I'd like to welcome Peg Barringer.
Well, it's awfully nice to be here tonight, so I really appreciate your time. As Chris said, we've been working on this project for the last few months, and it's been really a pleasure to work with the folks in Maynard. I did a lot of interviews with residents and some property owners and people that were on various committees, and it's so nice to see so many people that are really dedicated to their town and really enthusiastic about their town. So that was just really a nice thing for me. We want to have a little bit of a presentation tonight, and then we'll open it up to questions and comments. And I wanted to just thank a lot of different people that helped with this project. So Bill and Andrew from Town Hall, provided guidance on this project. I interviewed several residents and property owners and business owners, and they're listed here. So I want to just make sure that we thank everybody that was involved in the project. The purpose of this project was to explore the potential for downtown to grow as a food, cultural, and entertainment destination. So it was taking the downtown in a particular direction and looking at the potential. And my task was to gather information, do an analysis that was going to lay the foundation for future planning. And what I did was, first of all, identify what are the success factors for a food and entertainment destination. So I looked at what goes into making it a successful, food, cultural, and entertainment destination. That's a mouthful. And then I analyzed downtown Maynard against those success factors. Then I also looked at 2 proposed development projects and what potential impacts they might have on downtown, and then formulated some recommendations. And so I have a little handout that we're going to hand out to you, and I'm going to go through some recommendations. But I just wanted to say that those are just my recommendations, just suggestions for consideration. They haven't gone through any kind of process. They haven't been sanctioned by any committee. They're just now recommendations for further consideration. This is the study area that we looked at. So this was the downtown area, what we considered the downtown. And then the pink space is Art Space Maynard and the Acme Theater, which are really close to downtown, not really part of downtown. But as you move forward and think about your cultural district, they'll all be part of the cultural district. I thought it would be useful to just start by talking about what we mean by a food, cultural, and entertainment destination. So in other words, a place where people are willing to make a special trip to come, to get something to eat, to maybe buy handcrafted goods or jewelry or home accessories, hear some live music, go see a performance, but they're going to make a special trip. And maybe they just want to come and hang out or stroll or be there because there's always something going on. It's a place you want to go because it's a nice place to be and there's always something happening. So a place where Maynard residents would visit with great frequency and also where visitors from the surrounding communities would be attracted to. So the factors, when I looked at successful destinations, food and entertainment destinations, these are the 5 success factors that I could come up with. So first of all, there has to be a sufficient market. So there's got to be enough people with money, with interest to come and, for food and for entertainment. There has to be an abundance of things to see and do in the downtown. There has to be an attractive, conducive, and compact and walkable local environment with good access and ambiance. There has to be strong identity and promotion. So in other words, people have to know it's there and they have to know what offerings are available. And then there has to be a coordination among the cultural organizations and the businesses. So I want to look at Maynard compared to those success factors. So the first thing we did was look at a market analysis for Downtown Maynard. And Downtown Maynard has primarily 2 market segments that it can offer to. Residents that live in Maynard and also the surrounding community, and then employees that work in and near downtown. And the employee market segment is still a very important market segment, but it also has declined in recent years, right? So Clock Tower Place now has about 50% of the employees that it once had, about 50% of the space is occupied, and fewer employees at the mill means fewer captive audience, a smaller amount of people that are there during the day for convenience goods and before and after work purchases. That might have been a likely contributing factor to the leaving of Walgreens because that's a big convenience goods store. And then the resident market segment is your other large market segment, your largest market segment. And so what we looked at was Maynard and the surrounding communities and tried to identify what would be the logical trade area. So where could we expect customers to come from? So if we were growing this cultural and entertainment and food district, where could we expect the customers to come from? So we looked at a number of factors, and one of the things is that Downtown Maynard has a real competitive advantage in that it's compact and walkable and it has a village center feel. So compared to a lot of the surrounding towns, it has a village center. There's other towns that have standalone commercial, that have shopping centers, but they don't have this downtown walkable feel. Another thing we looked at is where are the restaurants? So there's lots of restaurants in the surrounding communities. Most of the competition, or I shouldn't say most, but the competition definitely intensifies as you get close to I-95 and I-90 and 495. But right around Maynard, the competition is less. And then we looked at movie theaters. So those little red, those are supposed to be film clips. The closest movie theater is over 9 miles away. So that kind of left a hole in the middle. Then I looked at cultural districts. So there's a cultural district in Lowell, Concord, Natick, and Marlborough. The closest one is in Concord. But still, we're kind of seeing a hole in the middle right around Maynard. And then I interviewed people at some of the specialty retailers that said a lot of their customers come from Acton, Stowe, and Sudbury. So they're near the inner circle, right around Maynard. And the Acme Theater, they said they had season ticket holders as far as Boston and New Hampshire, but probably 75% of their customers come from within 5 miles. So then when I looked at the trade area, and the trade area in retail, trade area is where 75% of your customers come from. It doesn't mean that people don't come from beyond that, but that's where you get most of your repeat business. So to try to identify the trade area for downtown Maynard, we looked at two different categories of goods and services. The first one is retail, convenience retail and services. So groceries and liquor and drugstore items, non-distinct restaurants, limited service restaurants. And I think the trade area that Maynard has to draw from is predominantly just the town of Maynard. So just the red little dot, just Maynard. But then the other thing, the arts, cultural, dining, and entertainment, I think there's certainly potential to draw from probably a 5-mile radius. So that's the gray circle. And as you can see, that's where the hole is. There's all this other stuff going on behind it, but there's really a kind of a dearth of things in there. So these two boxes are going to give you some statistics about the two trade areas. So the one on the left is the convenience retail trade area, the town of Maynard, and the one on the right is the arts and cultural, dining, entertainment trade area that's 5 miles. So you've got 4,400 households within Maynard and 10,000 people, and within your 5-mile trade area, 24,000 households and 67,000 people. So within a short distance, a lot of market support. In both situations, in both trade areas, compared to Massachusetts overall, the population is slightly older, more educated, higher income, and more likely to own a home. In Maynard, the median household income is $85,000 and 30% greater than the state of Massachusetts. And in the 5-mile trade area, the median is $111,000, which is 70% greater than the state. In both cases, there's a higher percentage of people that have bachelor's degrees, so 51% have bachelor's degrees compared to only 39% in the state in Maynard. And the market opportunity in Maynard, from my calculations, it looks like at least 72% of the retail and restaurant purchases made by people that live in Maynard are done outside of Maynard. So that's a strong leakage. All that sales is going outside of the town. And Maynard residents spend about $22 million a year on eating and drinking places, so at restaurants. And more than half of that is being spent outside of town. So that's another opportunity, it's capital leakage. And probably between $3 and $4 million are spent on admissions for entertainment. So tickets, admissions, fees to get into entertainment. In the 5-mile trade area, 62% of their retail purchases are outside of the trade area. They spend $139 million on restaurants, and again, more than half is being spent outside the 5-mile trade area. And they spend $30 million on entertainment fees. Here's some more demographics about the market, and we won't go through them now, but you're going to be getting a copy of all of this, so you can take a look at this. But I wanted to show you that we looked at a lot of other demographics on the trade areas. This is kind of a summary of the market demand for restaurants and entertainment, because that's what we were asked to look at, is predominantly restaurants and entertainment. So this idea of a food, cultural, specialty, downtown focus. And I thought I would just give you a few trends that are going on right now in restaurants. First of all, baby boomers and seniors are particularly important to restaurants. They are patronizing at a greater frequency than any other market segment. And they're looking for comfortable seating, less noise, and a menu that's easy to read. No surprise there. Consumers want healthful menu offerings. So that's the other trend in restaurants now, is people are looking for healthy items on the menu. And I don't have it up here, but the other trend in restaurants is people are looking for, sometimes they're calling it farm to table or fork to table. They're concerned about where their food is coming from. So they're looking at locally sourced food, and that's another trend in restaurants. Fine dining has recovered since the recession. There's menu innovation attracts the millennials, so if you're attracting younger people, like pretzel buns, things like this, these kind of menu innovations are going for the people in their 20s, the millennials. And just a little fact here, in the Northeast, people eat lunch out 1.5 times a week, and they spend $11.40. In the entertainment trends, I thought this was kind of interesting consumers are increasingly looking for community-based and affordable entertainment options. Higher priced venues and destination venues and large amusement parks are not faring as well as close to home entertainment. So I think that fares well for downtown as an entertainment district because people are looking for more of these affordable community-based activities. Just a few other trends that I put in our report to you, the motivators for why people attend cultural activities. And then I think this was interesting. People are defining culture more broadly. So, and they're very open to new experiences. So people are calling going to a park a cultural experience. Going to an independent film at a movie theater is a cultural experience. Listening to a lecture, even a recorded lecture, is a cultural experience. Street art is a cultural experience. So more than ever, people are defining culture broadly, and I think that's something you want to think about as you develop your cultural district and you think about downtown, because lots of activities could be coming in under the umbrella of culture. And there's some other information there about how much people spend when they attend cultural events. One more thing on the trends here. We did a study last year in 8 commercial districts in the Boston area. And we found that special events near downtown can generate very positive economic development impacts. So I thought I would share those with you. So for one thing, the events increase the awareness of local businesses. So what we found is 37%, almost 40% of the people that were coming to a special event, upon leaving, said that they discovered a new business that they didn't know was in the commercial area. So that's important for downtown businesses. We also found out that on average, the attendees of a farmer's market or a street festival or a First Friday event would visit at least 2 businesses in the commercial district, either on the way to or from or during the event. And that there was a very high percentage of people that said they would come back on a non-event day. So I just kind of wanted to share some of those facts with you. So here's the second criteria. The second criteria is there has to be an abundance of things to do. So if it's going to be a successful destination, there's got to be an abundance of things to do. And I think Maynard is lucky that it does have a lot of things to do. With the Acme Theater, with the Fine Arts Theater now that's opened, right? It's opened back up. The library, and you have a great venue, the Memorial Park, great venue for arts and entertainment. Art galleries, production spaces, instruction, so a lot of really nice things. Historic assets, and obviously the historic mill building and the clock tower. I did some writing, I did some reading about the clock tower, so I was just kind of enchanted by this whole idea, and I hope it hasn't gone away. Well, the book that I was reading said that the clock tower is the oldest hand-wound clock tower in the country, and it still has to be hand-wound every 2 weeks. That was just like, that's such an interesting thing to me. That was such an interesting fact, and I wondered, you know, like, is it celebrated? Like, do bells ring in the town, or does something happen? Because it just seems like, if I was here and the bells rang, and I'd say, oh, what's going on? Oh, they're winding the clock tower. That just feels so, that's so uniquely Maynard. That was just so interesting. So you've got all these historic assets. And the bike trail that's coming. You know, what a great asset that is. And the wildlife refuge. So all these great things. And the challenges or the opportunities that I want to just kind of, you know, as I saw it, one thing is to try to connect art space and the Acme Theater to downtown. So they're little ways away, so visually connect them or functionally connect them so people know that they're connected with downtown. And make people aware of all that Maynard has to offer. So I think that we can do more things to let people know what's here. Tell a good story, you know, celebrate things that are Maynard. So really shine a spotlight. So shine a spotlight on the clock tower. Shine a spotlight, I mean, not a real spotlight, but, you know, things that you could do to really promote what you've got here. Coordinate and cross-promote between the businesses and the cultural activities and the theaters, and use this broad definition of arts and culture. And public art, lots of opportunity here for public art, and I think there's a mural proposed already, and it seems like there's lots of opportunity for that. Eateries, so 20 eateries, that's a great start for a restaurant district. All kinds of, you know, ethnic and sit down and great things. just some things that came to my mind, complementary businesses. Every other downtown I go to has a yogurt shop, has an ice cream shop. That seems to be the new trend, and I didn't see one here. A bistro pub, so people that I interviewed and things that came up, something people were looking for, just something a little bit, high, another kind of little higher end restaurant. A brew pub or a microbrewery, health focused or this farm to table focused, and more restaurants, more American, more ethnic variety. Entertainment, lots of entertainment going on, between like open mic nights and trivia and games, besides the Acme Theater that's got so many performances, and now the Fine Arts Theater, Serendipity Cafe has got live performances, and I saw a sign when I was here that Red Peppers had hosted the Hypnotist show. I'd gone to see that show, it was a hoot. And lots of events. So I thought that's great, what a lively downtown. I think the challenges are a consistent, continuous menu of events. So there's always something going on. And I think the need for well-publicized events. So I knew about all these things because I saw chalkboards and things out in front of the stores. But I'm not sure if you weren't walking in downtown and saw those, if you knew those were going on. Events, so you've got a lot of special events, farmers markets and Halloween and Maynard's Fest and Sip and Stroll, so all kinds of great events that were going on. And I'd say on the opportunity side is, which is very common with downtowns, is just striving to make an economic development connection between your events and the businesses, so that you know that that part of why you're doing events is to bring businesses in and bring customers in that will then come back, or at the time they're here, patronize the stores. We're trying to use downtown, we're trying to create jobs, we're trying to do business opportunities, we're trying to generate sales. So, reinforcing the economic development connection. And these, I just put, a map together to show you, kind of the business mix and some of the entertainment options. Excuse me, I'm going to put this up. The business mix, beyond dining and cultural and entertainment, you've got a couple of strong anchors and unique anchors. The Maynard store, outdoor store, very unique, and the paper store, wellness clusters, artist clusters, so a number of different business clusters. And I'd say the opportunity or the challenge here is probably to increase the commercial density, more businesses, particularly browsing retail. Retail, if you're going to be an entertainment and a food district, you want browsing retail that people might look at before or after going out to eat, or before and after entertainment. And also kind of getting closer to this 10 plus 10 plus 10 rule, which I'll tell you about in a second. Make people aware of the businesses that are in downtown, encouraging cross-promotion, and maybe consistent business hours or later business hours. It's a challenge in every business district. This is from some research that was done by, we didn't do this research, but Destination Development is a company that did this research, and they looked at 40 downtowns. And they decided that to really be a destination, you need 10 places that serve food, 10 destination retail shops, and 10 places open after 7, preferably those that have entertainment. So that's why they call it the 10 plus 10 plus 10 rule. So, I don't know that, this isn't exact, it's not absolute, but it's something you kind of want to work towards. So I'm thinking that in, downtown, a little bit more commercial density is where you want to head. So here's our third success factor, is the physical environment. And as far as layout and gateways go, we're going back to what we said at the very beginning. Maynard is very fortunate to be compact and walkable, so that's a real advantage. And it only has limited sidewalk interruption. So it feels very consistent and nice pedestrian flow. And when I was doing my interviews, somebody said, I can get almost everything I need within a quarter mile. But what a nice thing for somebody to say about your downtown. I think the challenges are, something we said before, that the Acme Theater and art space aren't well connected to downtown. The other kind of challenge is the fact that Mason is one way, and the configuration of downtown And the basin, that's what you call the parking lot, the basin parking lot, right? I'm using that right. People can go between those, so you can get from Main Street to Nason Street, but it's not very attractive and it doesn't really seem like a cut through, but it could be. You know, so it could be like a pedestrian, it looked like a pedestrian way, so that it would bring more traffic, more foot traffic onto Nason Street. But right now, it's not really well identified or attractive to make people want to do that. So it seems like your pedestrians kind of go down Nason, go down Main, but you kind of want to get them to go like this, you know, to cross over to Nason. So you increase your foot traffic on Nason Street. The western leg of Main Street is also not terribly well connected to the rest of Main Street. So you've got some restaurants down there, you've got some nice commercial development, but you don't know it's there. So sometimes downtowns, by using unified architectural elements or signage or banners or, you know, just repeating design elements, when you're in the core of downtown in the triangle, but you can see the same design elements down there, you know that's still part of downtown. It's worthwhile to go down there, there's more stuff down there. But right now you don't get that. It just seems like we don't, you know, like here where we are right here, we don't know that this is really part of downtown. And several individuals that I interviewed, they mentioned a negative appearance at the gateway to town, at 27 and 62. Seating areas and social gathering spots. I think that the downtown has a number of social gathering spots, and Memorial Park is great. Such a nice venue for social gathering, for events. And you have nice seating areas at the first block of Main Street. You know, this is a really attractive seating area. And when I saw this, so when I first came to Maynard, I've never been to Maynard before I started working here in office. I've never rooted for it. When I came here, what this reminded me of is Lexington. So see, this is Maynard, this is Lexington. And so it seemed to me like I could see a lot of similarities. And it was just interesting, I thought, because Maynard has a downtown, compact, walkable area. Lexington has a compact, walkable area. And Lexington's got an independent movie theater. Maynard has an independent movie theater. Lexington has got a bike trail. Maynard is about to have a bike trail. So it was interesting to kind of look at Lexington to see that's got a little bit more foot traffic, it's got a little bit more businesses, but it kind of is something that Maynard could more strive to be like. As far as the streetscape and sidewalks go, I was really impressed with what the community gardeners have done in downtown. And this is such a lovely, you know, landscape, part of the streetscape. And again, I just kind of wanted to show you the comparison with Lexington. That sort of, it popped out at me. I think your challenges are that probably, even though you have this lovely seating area, there's not a lot of seating areas. So, you know, it's limited seating. And all of the areas of downtown are not landscaped quite as nice as others. One business owner cited an issue with inadequate snow clearance. My hometown is Buffalo and Rochester, so I've been thinking a lot about snow today because my brother is stuck on the thruway in New York State. One resident mentioned safety issues with crosswalks. They thought there was a couple of issues crossing the sidewalks, crossing the street that was kind of difficult, particularly at the beginning of the triangle. Outdoor dining. So for a small downtown, you have a lot of outdoor dining. And I think that's really important to a downtown because it adds so much vitality to your downtown. And it, you know, really presents an interaction between diners and pedestrians. So it can really do a lot for your downtown. And you have a lot of it. The challenge you've got is in some of your areas, your sidewalks are so narrow. And you just, you know, there's either only a very narrow street, you know, one line of tables, or it's really difficult to have any tables out there at all. And I just thought I would show you, this is a downtown. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a sidewalk in between these tables and the building. These tables and chairs are in a parking space. So see that platform? So they temporarily took over 2 parking spaces. They build that platform, and that's where the tables and chairs are. So they use it as a way of extending the sidewalk. And these are not permanent. They're in there for the summer months, and it's called a parklet. And so some towns use this parklet program. Here's another example. So see how this one's easier to see. They've extended, the sidewalk was too narrow, so they use a parking space. So it's just another way when you have got, you're trying to put, something, change the infrastructure a little bit, but, you're working with what you've got. Parking. Great, central, abundant parking spaces here. So that's a real advantage to downtown. Very nicely laid out and great wayfinding signage, so it's easy to find the parking. I think your challenges are the basement parking lot maybe could be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Maybe the businesses could open up rear entrances and use that as a sub area. Because I thought it was interesting, not that many places you've got businesses inside your parking lot, that have storefronts, like the little Mexican restaurant and the bakery, cafe. And then when I walked around there, it felt like, gee, this could be a whole other area in here. Just with some physical changes, I thought it could be quite an interesting area and have some of the stores open up back entrances. And there's no wayfinding signage to identify businesses. So, no business directory or kiosk that shows the businesses. And I don't know, I could have missed them. I didn't see bike racks. Or maybe there's not a lot of bike racks. Storefronts and signage, there's some nice storefronts and some nice signage, several attractive window displays. So I think there's a lot of great things going on. And on the opportunity side, some of the storefronts have got covered windows. And so what I think sometimes we don't realize, when you have blinds in the windows or paper signs or anything that covers the windows, it detracts from a vibrant feel and it makes the town feel sleepy and not open for business. So when you see a lot of, of these closed blinds and closed windows, we don't know whether that business is open or not, and it gives that whole appearance of not being open for business. Somebody mentioned when I was interviewing a lengthy and difficult time for a business to get a new sign approved. And they said that in one case, somebody was using a temporary banner sign because it was easier to use that than get a new sign approved. So I'm passing that information along. And some of the storefronts in the buildings are probably in need of renovation. Water features. What a great opportunity to have water in downtown. You have the Safford River right through downtown and the mill pond. But the mill pond has got great vistas, so you can see that as you come on Main Street, and that's so attractive. When you're in the downtown, though, the water disappears. It doesn't seem like you can't see the river, so you don't have visual access. So it seems like it's underutilized. You've got this great asset, but it's a lost opportunity, I think, right in the center of town. You've got some vacancies, the recent Walgreens and Methodist Church and a few other vacancies. And I think, what that does is it adds to the sleepy appearance. It adds to, the lack of vitality. On the upside, you've got some larger spaces now that could accommodate larger footprint businesses. So that's an opportunity you don't always get in downtown. Identity and promotion. So now we're on our fourth success factor. I thought that everybody I talked to was so enthusiastic about Maynard, and they loved their town. That was just like lots of people I talked to. And I just thought this was interesting that Denise Shea from I met her at the Revitalized Main Street, Revitalized Maynard collaborative meeting, and she had created her own bumper sticker because she liked her town so much. So I thought that was, just sort of a lovely sentiment. People I interviewed told me that their friends like to come to Maynard from surrounding communities because they like the village center, and that they don't have a village center in their own communities. And that some outsiders think of Maynard as a bar town or a restaurant town, having this kind of history from the past, which is a good thing, I think, to be able to build on. Some of the challenges, probably not yet firmly established itself as a fun, edgy, artsy place to come for food. I think there's potential, I think it's started, but it doesn't seem like it's firmly established yet. Out-of-towners might be unaware of what Maynard really has to offer. I think special events can help with that, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the recommendations. I think there might be a perception that Maynard is too far. It's too far from where they are, because you don't really know where it is, and it will take you too long to get there. Acme Theater, I know, it started to kind of say, it started advertising by saying only so many minutes from Waltham, only so many miles from whatever. And I thought that was a great idea because it dispels that image that it's too far away. And I think there might be some potential business tenants, businesses that might otherwise locate here. They might have mistaken impressions about Maynard, that the market is too small, or that there lacks spending power, when in fact, household income is 30% greater than the state. But I think there could be a misconception about an affordable place to live equating with residents not having spending power, and that's not the case. There's lots of internet sources to find information. So, Maynard Web and, ArtSpace and the Maynard Grapevine and all kinds of things. And the town, I know, recently had an Adams grant that's working on a promotional strategy. So that's all terrific. Lots of places to find information. On the challenges side, Maynard still has to be kind of known as a place to go. I think probably the promotional strategy and website, they probably need a strategy on our website specifically targeted to downtown. The Maynard Web is a great start, but I think that when I looked at the community calendar on the Maynard Web, it looked like it was great for certain purposes, not great necessarily for somebody from out of town that's looking for something to do, because there's too much other information on there. So if I'm looking for something to do, I want to hear where's the live events, where's Trivia Night, what's happening at the Acme Theater, what's playing at Fine Arts, but not that it's early release schedule at the school and that it's cheerleader practice. It's too much information, so I think that just kind of like figuring out a little bit of different format so it's more of an arts entertainment energy. Here's my fifth success factor is coordination among the organizations. So strong organizations here, ArtSpace and Acme Theater, all the different, arts and cultural organizations. And then also 2 really strong resident business organizations, Revitalize Maynard Collaborative, that does such a great job with all volunteers and runs the farmers market and all that. And then the Business Alliance with really important art walk and sip and stroll and events. So it just looked like you had great organizations here. The only thing I would have to say about that is that how impressed I am with everything you're getting done and the level of volunteers. And the only thing is that as I know you're trying to establish your cultural district, and as you move towards your cultural district getting established, you might want to think about incorporating an entity as a 501c3. So you have a formalized entity that would have an executive committee. Because in the downtowns that I've seen, you kind of need to move to that level of organization to start coordinating activities. And that could be the next step for the RMC, maybe, or another organization. A couple of other factors that I looked at was 2 proposed development projects here, and that could impact downtown. 129 Parker, and also changes at the Clock Tower Place. So my little note here is, these projects are in the planning stages, and they're changing and evolving, so I'm going to give you the information that I had at the time, and just thoughts about it, but since I didn't put this down on the slideshow, things could have changed, but this is what I'm aware of. So Clock Tower Place, I know that the owners told me that they have plans to convert maybe half the space to residential units. They have zoning approval for 500 units, but they don't expect to do that many. They're planning apartments. If they can, this is all, it's just a proposed project if they can find the financing. And the apartments would be studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms. And they would be affordably priced, but not subsidized. Meaning they fall between the units that are available out in the surrounding towns that would probably be over $2,000 a month in rent, and they would be a little bit higher than that's currently available in Maynard, apartments that don't have any amenities. So they'd probably fall in that $1,000 to $2,000 a month kind of range, and they would be like pre-nesters and post-nesters. So singles and couples before they've had kids, and then seniors that are downsizing that no longer have kids at home, that are coming maybe downsizing from a single-family home. That would be their market. The implications and considerations of that change, there's a lot of positive things. A lot of positive things in your downtown when you bring residents in. First of all, residents add to the liveliness of a commercial area, and people want to go where there's people. So you get a 24-hour vitality when you bring residents in, and then just by virtue there's more people there, it attracts other customers to the area. It's a built-in market, So now they're going to be living right near downtown. They're going to be likely to spend their money downtown at restaurants and at retail places. And residents provide more eyes on the street. So it's more secure. It gives them more of a perception of safety. The trade-off in this particular situation is that the residential units are going to replace commercial units. So commercial or businesses that might otherwise have gone into those spaces and created jobs for the community would no longer be there. Once you convert a commercial space to residential, you can't get it back. So it's a trade-off, you know, that kind of thing. And you're growing the resident market segment, you're curtailing the future employment market segment. So it's a trade-off. There might be some other opportunities as well at the mill. There's such unique architecture, and the waterfront setting really lends itself to restaurant possibilities. So maybe there, you know, and there's a real trend these days with craft beers and distilleries. So maybe there would be, you know, an opportunity for a microbrewery or some kind of a brew pub restaurant there. Some kind of restaurant, something that would really complement downtown as an entertainment and cultural district. The other development project that's not underway, being proposed out there, is 129 Parker at the old digital equipment site. The working title is The Shops at Maynard Crossing. And I know that it's gone through several iterations. As far as I know, this is more or less the current thinking, about 250 units of residential with a certain percentage set aside for affordable subsidized, so income tested units. And 250,000 square feet of retail, including a supermarket. And then some other uses, maybe medical office, maybe assisted living. I know that there's been lots of different scenarios. So some of the potential impacts or just the considerations of how this might impact downtown. Retail and restaurant development at 129 Parker may compete with downtown for the same market demand. So even though we said that there's a lot of sales leakage and more than 50% of restaurant sales are going outside of the 5-mile trade area, there's still only so many expenditures to go around. So depending on what gets developed at 129 Parker, it could you know, compete for the same market demand as downtown. I think that restaurants and entertainment businesses that might otherwise consider locating in downtown might locate to 129 Parker instead. So you might lose some businesses there. If 129 Parker is going to have a supermarket, that's going to have already generate a certain amount of foot traffic, and other retail or restaurant businesses might want to be near that foot traffic. And there's a risk that existing downtown businesses might relocate to 129 Parker. So I worked in Hingham. I was doing a study there when the Derby Shops opened, which is a lifestyle center. And the first thing that happened when Derby Shops opened is that several of the downtown businesses relocated to Derby Shops, and it hurt the downtown. So there's that risk. So I'm just kind of pointing out these are possible implications. Some of the opportunities here, I think that if you could find a way to direct destination restaurants, specialty retail, especially small format restaurants and retail to downtown and entertainment venues, that would be really helpful to downtown, and have other things happen at 129 Parker. And the other opportunity, maybe there's an opportunity to negotiate a development agreement with 129 Parker that could provide annual funding for downtown activities. So in a situation when a developer is going to put something in and it's going to have an impact, a negative impact in some area, there's precedent to negotiating a development agreement that could help mitigate the impacts. And there's precedent in Massachusetts for developers developing shopping centers and then providing funds on an annual basis that could fund a downtown association, downtown special projects, or promotion. So here's some recommendations, and this is a summary of the recommendations if you wanted to take those with you. And I wanted to just reiterate, these are just, and you can pass these out if you want to, pass these along. These are my thoughts passing on to you that I got from interviewing people and talking to people and my observations, but they haven't gone through any kind of process. Nobody's approved them, nobody's sanctioned them, but they're just recommendations for further consideration. So the first one is keep up the good work. So, you know, continue the efforts to create the cultural district. I think the cultural district could really be a centerpiece that all of your, you know, entertainment and food and destination activities could develop around. And continue with your branding and promotional strategies that I think was started with the Adams Grant, because that's really important work and I think very important to this whole goal. And the only thing I would say is going forward, try to ensure, because I've seen this in other communities, I've worked with several cultural districts, as your cultural district advances, make sure that you instill sort of an understanding with all the partners about the economic development opportunities and the economic development objectives of the cultural district. It's easy for people to understand that we're putting in a cultural district because we want to increase cultural offerings for the residents. But you also want to keep in mind that we're doing a cultural district because we want to create jobs and business opportunities and generate sales. And so you want to keep that in front of people as they create events and activities. Capitalize on the waterfront location. So I think that would go a long way to develop a dining and cultural destination. Water view or waterfront dining would be a really unique value proposition here. And it would distinguish Maynard from a lot of other commercial areas. And another town that Maynard reminded me of was Ipswich. So Ipswich also is on the river and also has, it underutilizes the river. So a few years ago, one of the things they did was they created the River Walk. And it's the same kind of thing with Maynard. They have a mill, you have a mill, and the river kind of goes behind the businesses, and when you're right in downtown, you don't know that the river is there. They created this River Walk, and they have 2 streets, and the River Walk allows them to cross the river, and so it also makes a continuous pedestrian flow in downtown, and a really attractive event space. So they have dances here, and they have performances, so they created another venue. And you can see there's the mill building downtown. It's just a very attractive space. So just wanted to show you kind of what some other town did with waterfront. And I had some residents that we interviewed that suggested using the water for recreational uses. And so these are just slides from, I don't know if you've ever heard of the kinetic sculpture races. So they're basically crazy boats that people create. And they do it in Baltimore, they do it in California, a lot of communities. Facilitate the reopening and the ongoing success of the Fine Arts Theater. So I know that it's opened. If there's anything to help the Fine Arts Theater, encourage promotional tie-ins with local businesses and multiple events at the site. Because I think the Fine Arts Theater is really a key component of downtown as an entertainment destination. It's one of the things that makes you very unique against other downtowns. So investigate if there's opportunities, encourage cross-promotions. A lot of downtowns have been successful revitalizing around dinner and a movie, like Waltham, downtown Waltham, Coolidge Corner in Brookline. And we had done a study, we did a market study in Brookline and Coolidge Corner this year, and just to give you an idea, 81% of the moviegoers also visited a restaurant, a coffee shop, or a yogurt shop in that commercial district. So there's definitely a connection with the businesses. And 2 of the things that they do at that theater that might be helpful at this theater, they have a membership card that provides discounts to other merchants. So you can take your little card and go to a restaurant, go to a yogurt shop and get a discount. And the other thing they do is they host a very large array of events, not just movies. So they have a partner that does live performances. The bookstore has author events at the theater. They have sing-alongs, so they have all kinds of events. Increasing event programming and entertainment in downtown. So maybe getting a pledge from all your cultural organization partners to increase the events in downtown in the next year. Consider creating a small fund and implementing a call for producers model. You ever heard of that before? In Somerville, in Union Square, they use this. So what they do is they have a small fund of money, and it is small. And then each year they put out a call for producers. It's kind of like an RFP. And they're saying, we want events in our downtown. And here's the criteria. And then they will take proposals from organizations that want to put on events. And then they will give them a little bit of money to help with those events, like a couple of $100s. And by doing that, they get lots of events to put on in the commercial district, but they don't have to put them all on. And so it's just an interesting way to get a lot of things going. And encourage businesses to host in-store entertainment or in-store events. You know, that's also the new trend in retailing, is experiential shopping, experiential retailing. It's a way of competing with the internet, and that making shopping more of an experience. So having tastings, having demonstrations, having all these kinds of things in stores. Help create a story and celebrate what is uniquely Maynard. So, you know, like the clock tower, like the winding of the clock, you know. So what can we do here that's really unique? Union Square has got the Marshmallow Fluff Festival, you know, and Providence has got Water Fire. You know, why couldn't, you know, Maynard make something more out of the clock? I think creating a map of downtown or a kiosk could help a couple of things. If you had a map like this, it visually would reinforce that Acme Theater and Art Space was part of downtown, or how close it is to downtown, and I think that would be helpful. And I think also just like the juxtaposition of the different areas that we said were not really well connected, and a listing of your businesses. So that's what they did in Newburyport. There's kiosks and different ways to do that, but I think that something like that might be helpful. Work with your landlords to help rent up the vacant spaces. Obviously, there's a lot of vacant space here. So see what the obstacles are, if there's some kind of incentives maybe that could be provided. Recruit appropriate businesses. So develop a promotional package or a digital fact sheet or a brochure. At one of the meetings, at the Revitalize Maynard Collaborative meeting, somebody suggested that the high school create a video that you know, was a promotional video about bringing your business to Maynard. Maybe creating a business recruitment committee, identifying and approaching businesses, and the ones we talked about before, yogurt, ice cream shop, microbrewery. The other thing that came up is exploring the potential for recruiting a children's theater. So you have a cultural district, you've got all these other theater options. A children's theater would work really well, would be very complementary to what you've already got here. And children's theater is an automatic audience producer because, you know, your kids are in the show, your grandchildren are in the show, so it brings people downtown on a very regular basis. And maybe even some of your vacant opportunities in downtown could be used for something like that. Try to mitigate the potential adverse impacts of 129 Parker, like we talked about, and explore this possibility of negotiating a development agreement. See if that is an opportunity, if there is an opportunity there for maybe funding a downtown revitalization organization, promotion of downtown, recruiting appropriate businesses, funding special projects. The precedents in Massachusetts are Taunton and North Attleboro. When the malls were developed, the mall developers did an annual contribution for the downtown activities. And also in Natick, they provided initial funding to develop the Natick Center Association, which is a nonprofit organization that manages downtown revitalization there, and the cultural district. Creating an online downtown dining and entertainment guide and a master calendar. So, you know, we talked about how the Maynard Web is a great start, but maybe a little bit different formatting. Work towards creating an organizational structure that could coordinate and manage downtown. So maybe starting to just think about moving to a 501c3, something that would be incorporated and could have an executive committee and could have more fiduciary financial, take on financial responsibilities as you move into the finalization or establishment of your cultural district. And this is my last recommendation, so I can stop talking, which I'm sure you'll be glad about, is think about making some improvements in the Basin parking lot, particularly to facilitate a couple of things. To think about, you know, could you visualize that as a sub-area of downtown, and could we, you know, improve the backs of the stores? The other thing is, could we somehow make it look like it was a way to go from Main Street to Nason Street, a pedestrian connector. And I was just, you know, when I thought it would be helpful, that's why I brought up Lexington. I showed you some pictures of Lexington and Ipswich to show you some other communities. This is from Gloucester. And it's just kind of an interesting thing. This is one of their, like, alleyways, you know, between the buildings. And they did a mural on the floor. And it's a fishnet mural, which makes sense because it's Gloucester. And it sort of turned this alleyway into an artistic walkway. But I thought that you have all of these artists here in art space. And if you seems like you've got a lot of creative energy to do something with the basin parking lot. So I'm stopping here and turn it back over to Chris or Bill and see if there's any questions or comments.
Yeah, so just if anybody has any questions for Peg.
You know, one of the things that,
Hold on, I have a microphone for you.
one of the things that strikes me is I think the movie theater is obviously a big attraction, but it doesn't really connect to the restaurants unless you know where you're going. So I don't know if you had any ideas about, in conjunction maybe with your parking lot idea, since we don't have the parking deck anymore, if there's a way to kind of flow people either from or to the theater, to the restaurants, and the parking. Do you have any thoughts about that?
The Fine Arts Theater?
Yes.
Well, I think part of it would be physical, you know, sort of like seeing. So if there was some unifying design elements or unifying lighting or something that's from the theater, you saw, oh, there's stuff going on, then you might be think about exploring. But also from marketing and cross-promotion, that the restaurants could market more at the theater and vice versa. And that's why, like at Coolidge Corner Theater, they have, when they started their membership program, it made a very big difference in getting people in the theater. And then the next thing they did was the discounts. So with your membership card, you got the discounts. And that definitely increased the amount of people that were eating before or after. And they had the idea of where to go because it came on the membership card. You know, so it was all, you know, a lot of cross-promotion.
I mean, either at the theater or perhaps across the street at parking might be a place for a map.
A kiosk kind of thing that show you what's in downtown. Absolutely. You know, even, you know, I think I myself like these physical structures. I look for them and I like them, you know, like a large sign. But even before you did something that was a larger infrastructure, even if you had a paper map that listed all the restaurants in the lobby of the theater, even something small like that, even something that you would pass out, that would be a small printing, you know, small dollar item, I think can make a difference.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question about the parklets.
Parklets.
Yeah, who administered those programs that you showed?
The town.
It was a town.
The town. And so in different cases, what they were trying to do is, if the town was really trying to encourage the outdoor dining, first of all, they have to look at whether or not they could let go of a parking space in front of the restaurant, and then the restaurant would pay a fee for that 2 parking spaces or 1 parking space, and then they would, and it doesn't have to be for the whole year because you wouldn't have a restaurant out there the whole year, and then it's kind of like they're renting it. They're kind of renting that parking space and they're putting their store out, their things out there. So they do it in Lexington, they do it in Cambridge, on Mass Ave. Have you ever noticed on Mass Ave? You'll see them there. Mass Ave has got kind of larger sidewalks than you have here, but that first shot, they have the sidewalks you have here, you know, really just tiny sidewalks.
Hi, I just have 1 or 2 comments. One, thank you. That's really impressive. And can I get a copy of your work, the PowerPoint, or
I guess I don't have my briefcase here. So we will have a report that looks like a lot like this that we'll give to Bill, and then the town will decide how they want to distribute that, you know, make that available.
Well, the video tonight posted as well. We're going to put that on the website.
a video of this presentation?
Right, and then we'll put whatever materials we get from Peg as well.
Okay, great. There were 2 or 3 or 5 very data-rich slides that I'd like very much to go into and you know, have you right there and grill you on all the things on the page. Anyway, so thanks very much. I'm really interested. It looks like great work, and I can't wait to dig in a little more.
Great.
And just on the question of the basin, I think that's a great insight, and I agree in a really enthusiastic way that that's a terrific and really underutilized resource. I think of it, I'm an architect, and so for that reason have studied lots of places and form making, and first time I came to Maynard, I thought, wow, this is like a little Italian piazza, except we've failed to recognize it, so we think of it as the back. And radically changing it can begin by simply thinking of it as the front. and doing all the million little things that feel then quite automatic as soon as you think, boy, this could be the front.
Yeah.
And my last comment is kind of related to that, thinking about the importance of the Fine Arts Theater to downtown. You know, with the parking deck gone, the grade change between Memorial Park and the deck, or sorry, and the basin now seems like a connection there could really be enhanced by, you know, could be a grand stair. You know, right now it's very forbidding to kind of approach from Main to see that wall. It seems like that's a real kind of exciting and maybe an important opportunity there. Anyway.
And kind of like, that's kind of like to your point too, that it would flow the people down, right, into the more area where there's restaurants. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I have a question about your clock tower study in terms of converting it to residential space that can be rented. Have you ever noticed in other cities if after being converted they aren't able to rent those units and if it just stays empty space but residentially zoned?
Well, that's, we didn't do a market study on residential for the clock tower. We were just looking at if they were to develop residential units. The representative of Clock Tower Place said that they had done a market study and they said that there was a great demand, an unmet demand for residential units.
Okay.
So I can't really speak to that because we didn't look at that market.
Anybody else?
Okay. Everybody's gonna have questions.
Okay, thanks.
Well, that's all we have. If anybody does have anything else, any questions or comments about tonight or things that we can talk about, I don't know if, Bill, if you would be happy to field any questions from people that we can bring to the Economic Development Committee?
Of course,
Anything like that?
I'll be very happy.
Or if anybody wants to come to one of our meetings, anybody is welcome to.
Presumably the committee will sort of chew through this stuff in a couple sort of upcoming meetings.
Yeah, definitely we will be.
Public.
Yes, yes, they're open, we post the agenda. Yeah, anybody is welcome to come, sit in, give an opinion, at least listen.
Great.
All right, thank you.
All right. I was trying to get rid of that image.